The old house loomed before me, a silent sentinel of my father's past. As I turned the key in the lock, a chill ran down my spine. This was my inheritance, a place filled with memories and secrets. I stepped inside, the floorboards creaking beneath my feet. The musty smell of age and neglect filled my nostrils. Room after room I explored, each space a time capsule of my childhood. But it was the basement door that caught my attention. Heavy and solid, it stood locked, defying my attempts to open it. That first night, as I lay in bed, I heard it. A faint scratching sound, barely audible, coming from below. I dismissed it as settling pipes or scurrying mice. But as days passed, the sounds grew louder, more insistent. Thumps and scrapes echoed through the house, always seeming to originate from that locked basement door. I became obsessed, spending hours with my ear pressed against the cold wood, trying to decipher the noises. Were they footsteps, whispers? The dragging of chains? Sleep eluded me, my mind racing with possibilities. One particularly restless night, I decided to confront my fears. Armed with a flashlight and a crowbar, I descended the stairs, determined to break through that stubborn door. The sounds grew louder as I approached, a cacophony of otherworldly noise that set my teeth on edge. With trembling hands, I raised the crowbar, but before I could strike, a deafening crash from upstairs made me jump. I raced back up, following the sound to my bedroom. There, I froze in horror. The wall behind my headboard had crumbled, revealing a hidden space. And from that dark cavity emerged something that should not exist in our world. As I stood paralyzed, I realized the terrifying truth. The sounds had never come from the basement. They had been right beside me all along, separated only by a thin layer of plaster and lies. In that moment, as inhuman eyes locked onto mine, I understood why my father had kept that basement door locked. It wasn't to keep something in. It was to keep me out, to protect me from the knowledge of what truly lurked within these walls. As I turned to flee, I heard my father's voice, a ghostly whisper carried on the stale air. "I'm sorry," it said. I thought I could keep it contained. But some inheritances, I learned that night, are far more terrible than we could ever imagine. I used to think the scariest thing about a phone was a low battery. I know, a stupid joke, but it's what I told my friends, who are always laughing at how glued I am to my device. So when a weird app popped up in my recommendations, I didn't even hesitate. It was called Echo, a name that sounded harmless and a logo that was just a stylized fingerprint. The description was a little vague, promising to show me a perfectly rendered digital reflection. It wasn't about filters or beauty modes. It was something else. A new kind of vote, it said, that could analyze your face and create a static, flawless digital version of you, your echo. It sounded fascinating, a little narcissistic, but mostly like a cool tech demo. I downloaded it without a second thought. The first week it was fun. I uploaded a few selfies and the app would process them for a few minutes before revealing my echo. The result was genuinely mesmerizing. It was me, but better. My nose was straighter, my skin was perfect, and my eyes seemed to hold a kind of impossible brightness. It was uncanny and captivating. I started spending hours scrolling through the Echo's feed, looking at other people's perfect selves. That's when I first noticed the glitches. One of the first people I followed on the app was a girl named Emily. Her echo was stunning, a flawless blonde with a bright, confident smile. But about 2 weeks after I downloaded the app, I saw a change. Her echo's perfect, symmetrical face had a subtle but definite tilt, as if its head was cocked to the side and the expression seemed to shift from a smile to something more blank. A few days later, her echo's left eye was slightly smaller than the right, a barely perceptible change that I wouldn't have noticed if I hadn't been staring at it so often. I tried to convince myself it was a bug in the AI rendering error, but the changes kept coming. The unsettling feeling grew into annoying suspicion when I saw a news report about a missing person, a young man named Kevin. A chill ran down my spine because I recognized his face. He was an active user of the Echo app, and I'd been intrigued by his echo, which was a kind of artistic, brooding version of him. I immediately went back to the app, searched for his profile, and found it. His echo was still there, but it was horrifying. One of its eyes was completely black, a soulless void, and its mouth was stretched into a twisted, unnatural grimace. The face was so distorted it was barely recognizable. I felt sick to my stomach. This wasn't a glitch. The app wasn't showing their perfect selves. It was showing their pain. It was a mirror for something happening in their real life. Terrified, I uninstalled the app and deleted my account. I was a little shaken, but I assumed I was in the clear. I was wrong. A week later, my girlfriend took a picture of me on her phone. She looked at the screen, a puzzled expression on her face. "Did you use a new filter on your camera?" she asked, holding the phone up to my face. I looked at the screen. The me in the photo was a little off. My eyes, which I know are a deep brown, looked almost black in the photo, and my perfect, even teeth seemed to be just slightly crooked, as if they were too big for my mouth. I took a new picture, and the same subtle wrongness was there. I started to panic. I tried every camera app on my phone, and it was the same story. The images of me were all subtly distorted, a tiny bit different every time. I would look in a mirror, and everything would be fine. My reflection was normal, but my friends started to notice. They'd look at a photo and say, "Something about you looks different," or "You look tired." But I knew what it was. My echo had somehow broken out of the app, and it was getting closer. The final descent into madness happened last night. I was at the grocery store grabbing some milk. I walked past the refrigerated aisle and caught my reflection in the glass of the dairy. I stopped dead. For a brief second, I wasn't looking at myself. I was looking at my echo, the perfectly rendered, soulless version of me, with its flawless features, was staring back at me from the glass. My life on the road is a lonely one. Just me, a massive rig, and the miles of dark highway. I like the solitude. It's simple, predictable. The only thing you have to worry about is a blown tire or a surprise snowstorm. But a few months ago, a new variable broke the comfortable monotony. A motorcycle with a single piercing headlight. It first appeared on a desolate stretch of I-70, a tiny star of light that never got closer, never pulled away. It was uncanny, a persistent shadow in my mirrors that matched my every speed. Then one night, it pulled alongside my cab. The rider was in all black, but their helmet made my blood run cold. It was a smooth, featureless oval with no visor, no eye holes, just a polished black surface where a person's face should have been. The rider slowly tilted their head, a silent, impossibly perfect motion, and for a terrifying moment, it was as if we were tied together. I pulled over to the shoulder, but the motorcycle just kept going, gliding away into the dark. I changed my route, but it found me again. It followed me to a diner, sitting in the parking lot with its featureless helmet staring at my cab. A few days later, at a gas station, I found a small, smooth black stone on my dashboard. It hadn't been there before. It had gotten into my cab. The terror peaked last night. I was driving through a downpour, and I saw that familiar headlight behind me. The motorcycle pulled alongside, and the rider's head tilted toward my window. But this time, I saw a reflection in the smooth black surface of the helmet, a hazy, distorted reflection of my own face. My reflection was staring back at me, but it wasn't smiling. It was screaming silently, a look of pure terror on its face. The reflection was gone as quickly as it appeared, and the motorcycle sped away, leaving me alone again. The screaming image of my face in the helmet will haunt me forever. I don't know what it is or what it wants, but it has my face, and I'm terrified that it wants to take more than just my reflection.